Hi everyone, welcome to Landhaus Ettenbühl in the southwest of Germany, and here with me today John Stefanie. We are sitting, lovely morning,
wonderful morning,
sunshine, about 20 degrees,
easily,
mid of March,
yeah.
And it's wonderful, but we have a lot of work on our hands because
we didn't do any work in November.
Exactly, that's what you recommended last time when we met here in November. You told us, be lazy, don't do nothing, anything, just be lazy.
Exactly. And the reason behind it was that we thought that if we got 20 degrees around Christmas and we'd pruned all the roses as we used to do,
and the herbaceous,
and cleaned it all up, then that action with 20 degrees would stimulate the plants to grow.
Yeah. So, and since we didn't do anything, so let's have a look over there.
Right.
This is our yellow brick road, as we call it here in Landhaus Ettenbühl. John did a wonderful herbaceous border, one of the largest, longest borders in Germany. Definitely.
Yeah, it's 100 meters, and it was all done using the principles that Gertrude Jekyll laid down.
Yeah, so it's absolutely gorgeous in summer, and now it looks, quite a mess.
Yeah.
Since you told us not to do anything in autumn and just leave it as this. Why did you say? Why did you want us to just do nothing this autumn and winter?
Basically, climate change.
Yeah.
We used to traditionally make it really beautifully squared away for the winter. And we decided this year not to do that because we felt that we might get 20 degrees at Christmas, which we did. And having pruned it, that would be the stimulus for it to grow.
Yeah.
And we also thought we might get -10 in March. Thankfully, we didn't.
Yeah.
But had we done on freshly shooting growth, both herbaceous and roses, we could have lost a lot of plants.
So you think that's going to be our reality for the future?
New norm.
New norm, not prune as you used to,
Quite.
tidy up your beds nicely for the winter, prune it all down, set it all to sleep.
I know.
Because this setting it all to sleep, that just doesn't happen anymore because
it doesn't sleep anymore.
It doesn't sleep anymore.
And, the neighbours are going to look over the fence and say, gosh, you're lazy gardeners, and the people walking by will say the same. But don't worry about it, because, these traditions are there as sacred cows to be challenged.
Yeah.
And this is the first point. So that's what we did in November, and now we're rushing around trying to catch up.
After a really lazy winter we are paying for this now, because now everything has to happen at the same time.
Yeah.
So we started pruning all our roses and herbaceous here in the gardens.
Yeah.
And maybe we just have a look at our granny's walk, where we already did a lot of that stuff, and you can show how we prune our roses, and especially interesting now, most probably what we do with our ground, with our compost and all these kinds of things. Should we do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So this is our granny's walk, full of roses and herbaceous plants, wonderful roses on the walls. And here we did a lot of work in the last couple of days.
Exactly. We've played catch up, and we've got this one pruned, and this is how we're going to go on through the rest of the garden. But what we've done also, which I think is very, very important, is we've prepared for the summer now.
Okay.
And so what we've done is first of all, the ground hasn't been dug. We're not doing any digging. We're just simply putting on this garden faza, sort of mulch of composted bark. And you can see underneath there that the soil is naturally moist. And by putting this on, we will keep that moisture in. The surface of it may dry out. It doesn't matter. What matters is the water is kept underneath. And plants will be naturally going down to find water. They won't be sending out surface roots, which they do when you go and hose pipe it every evening. Because what happens when there's a hose pipe ban? That's the worry.
So, well, actually, by the way, I haven't had a man kneeling in front of me for quite a while. That's just besides. But So you said no digging,
No
but
digging.
we still use our rose fork, I think, to when all the pruning is done, when all the old leaves are gone, when we've got all the rubbish out of our beds and everything is kind of cleaned up, all the cuttings and everything, then we kind of open up a little bit our ground, or wouldn't you do anything like that?
Yeah, lightly fluffing the soil up is fine because that encourages the air-breathing bacteria. But we don't want to dig the soil because we want it to retain its natural drainage.
Yeah.
And by retaining the natural drainage, the water retention is going to be better. And so we're preparing now for the idea that we're going to get 40 degrees and weeks without rain.
Yeah. Could you also, would it be good enough to just use ground cover plants, or is there a difference to, the material versus the plants?
There's a lot of difference.
Yeah.
This material, as I say, the surface may dry out. It doesn't matter. It's underneath that matters. And if you're using ground cover plants as a way of doing that, they're actually going to be taking the moisture out rather than contributing to it. So
if you have herbaceous in your beds, still put the mulch on so that both plants actually have the benefit of
exactly
the moisture.
And even if you design your beds in such a way that all the plant material grows over that, excellent. That's also fine. But this is our solution to the fact that we may be given a hosepipe ban.
By the way, roses, are they good plants for these very hot and dry summers now? Would you recommend roses, or are they
I would
difficult?
put them right on the very top of the list
Really?
of dry fruit plants, because providing they're not watered all the time, their roots will go down, 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 and they will get plenty of moisture from underneath the ground. And we're all told, oh, roses need lots and lots of fertilizer. Well, that may have been true 100 years ago of the very feeble hybrid teas, but today's modern shrubs need very little fertilizer. And the less fertilizer, of course, the less disease.
But what do you mean by not water all the time? So what's all the time?
All the time means that you see people who come back from work, first thing they do is get out the hose pipe and they water the garden.
Okay, well, it's relaxing, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
You've
sure.
got the feeling you're doing something really good for your plants.
But your plants become water junkies.
Oh.
They put out their roots on the surface to collect that water.
Yeah.
And they're lazy. They don't go down to look for it. So what happens when you get a hosepipe ban? All the poor plants have got their roots on the surface, and then they're going to go like that.
Okay.
But if you've made them work for it, then they're not dependent on the hosepipe under these circumstances, and they will do brilliantly.
Okay.
And roses luxuriate, love the heat, and they flower beautifully. So it's watering, even for herbaceous plants, is actually not necessary.
Okay. So, and last question about watering. When you come back home after work, after a really hot day, and you come into your garden and all your roses are hanging like this, and your herbaceous looks like, kind of like close to spinach or something, So would you recommend not to water then, or what should people do? Give them a little more confidence how to deal with that.
Wait until the morning.
Okay.
And if you go out in the morning
Yeah.
and you find they're like that, then quite clearly they will benefit from water. But most of them will have perked back up again. Okay. And so that means that they're actually finding sufficient water.
Okay.
So,
Just take it a little easy.
Yeah, exactly. I think, there's an obsession with watering, and we have got to learn to overcome this, because water is becoming more and more of a precious commodity. I mean, and watering the garden and washing the car are things that, we have to think twice about.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful. Very, very interesting. And we will go on with these climate change topics,
Yes.
because there's much more to tell. So, what about trees, trees and drought, how to, water big plants, if they suffer from drought, or how to even see if they do, and all sorts of little tricks you've collected and from your experience. So next week we will be back with John and go on with this climate change topic.
Oh yes, we've lots of fun because we've got some, as you say, some interesting little tips to give you.
Okay then, cool. For today, thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next week. Bye.
Bye bye.